Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Austin Braham. I am the AI Evangelist here at EverWorker, and I'm hanging out with my good buddy here, Ameya, and we're just gonna start chatting it up. Ameya, can you? I think this might be the first time. I think we were talking about this first time that maybe some of the YouTubes and people are seeing your face. So if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself.
Is that what they're calling themselves on their streams? Our audience, the YouTubes and the LinkedIners,
The YouTubes.
Welcome to this sphere. Yeah, hey everyone, my name is Ameya Deshmukh. I work as head of marketing at EverWorker. This is actually the first episode we're doing of our podcast, and we don't know what we're going to call it yet. But Austin's got some good ideas, and really the reason I think we even decided to start it is we just end up reading a lot of news, hearing a lot of things, playing around with our own products. I read a lot of academic papers and other research reports. Austin and I just end up having great conversations about it that we thought you all might like to listen to as well.
Yep, absolutely. So, like, I mean, first thing that pops to my head is like, I'm curious on, and I think you've told me. I mean, I know you've mentioned some of this stuff, but like, I'm just curious, even just to hear more of your backstory too, since we're, this is first episode here and all that. I mean, what brought you basically to EverWorker, and like, how'd you get into AI?
How to even get into tech is a long story. I think it really kind of goes all the way back into when Bootstrap.js first came out, and making your website mobile responsive was the hottest new thing on the block. I was studying information system management at a bottom tier UC, and just not really enjoying it. And I went to a career fair there, and there were three companies recruiting business school: John Deere, Disney, who wasn't actually even there; they were on the phone there, and the third company that I don't remember. So I walked up to the John Deere guy and went, "Do you guys have any IT or sales or marketing positions available, or what's somebody got?" And he went, "Yeah, we have a tractor sales traveling position available." And I went, "You need a college degree for that?" And he went, "Technically, no." So I knew then that, hey, just because you get a scholarship to a UC doesn't mean all of them are created equal. But I was playing around with Bootstrap and just learned how to use it. And then I just started cold calling local businesses, offered to do the first couple of websites for free, and then had referrals and just kind of got into that. And that turned into a internship at Cisco, and then a job offer to go work there part-time for a year and a half. And I was on the IT team there, and I was just taking the internal web applications they built and modernizing them and making them usable on mobile. And really, like, the things they were building they were like forms with back-end databases attached to them is all they really were, for people to submit requests for items and things like that. And while I was there, I had a mentor who was assigned to me, and his team actually forgot he existed. So he had a team overseas, and they just forgot about him, because that's how big the company was back then. And so he just decided that he was going to try to get into Y Combinator, and created this company called Root, which is an IoT company for farming and soil sensors. So he went off and did that. And I remember hanging out with him in his apartment. And until then, I always thought people that started companies and tech companies and got into, I don't think he ended up getting into Y Combinator. Ultimately, he got into some other, like a bottom tier accelerator. The company didn't work out ultimately. Still, I always remember thinking it was some sort of, you get into the whole mythos of like Steve Jobs and all these other people that start these companies, and you really think that it must be some incredibly exceptional, almost godlike figure that starts a business, and the tech company in particular. But really, no, it's everyday people that are just thinking of interesting ways to use new technology that's out there, and playing with it first before everyone else, and applying it to things that it hasn't been applied to yet. And that was a really, really kind of eye-opening realization for me. But from there, I just kind of went off and got my first marketing gig. Same way I got the first gigs for doing websites. I just cold called and cold walked and talked my way into it. And I've been with startups ever since, but I I think the lesson I was arriving in that story is it's a really great parallel to what's going on with AI right now. And so for the first time, especially with all the no-code, low-code platforms coming out and the truly completely no-code interfaces like EverWorker, it's like every single person in a business that doesn't know enough to code agentic AI systems themselves, which is very, very complicated to do. But they know the business, they know in their mind there is an AI worker that they imagine interacting with. It can help them do their job better or help them get to a particular outcome they're responsible for. And until now, it's never been possible for that person to take the technology and apply it somewhere it's never been applied before, unless they had an engineer doing that for them. So it's kind of that same real plan of the possibilities in Silicon Valley for anyone to think of technology and apply it to the world. That same realization is now happening, I think, for every single business operator all over the world, regardless of whether you're in an innovation hub or doesn't matter how many IT folks you have or how many AI engineers, how much funding that whole team has to support your particular function. If you've got an idea and you've got an innovative way of thinking about the way you operate and you want to apply AI to it, and you can. And that's pretty groundbreaking.
Absolutely, man. Like that's like my background getting into AI was like makes literally no sense at all. Like I started as a CrossFit coach and personal trainer for 8 years all over the world, and like I will never work at a job like that. I'm going to be in a gym for the rest of my life, and then eventually just kind of like moved on. I kind of moved on and started getting older. I'm like, maybe I should actually like start making some money in my life. Kind of started there, and then it's progressively like at every turn, I'm like, I love making content. I've always, I mean, you and I both being millennials, we're like chronically, like we still remember what it's like to, the old ways where you didn't need the internet, but then at the same time, like growing up with like Halo 2 and Halo 3 and Call of Duty, like all the video games got me into tech. And then eventually it's like at every place I go, I'm like, man, it's kind of like you were just saying, like there's certain people that have that kind of understand and have that mindset of like, oh, I wish I could do X, Y, or Z, but I'm not a coder. Therefore, I'm like, okay, well now I'm kind of relegated to a certain business function or things like that. But then ChatGPT came out, first and foremost, showing so many people, including myself, of like, okay, now less technical people can start getting involved, and then kind of following that way through to the point of where I'm like, okay, well, I love making videos about AI and helping people at large corporations that I was at the time learn about AI. Like even it's like, the corporation was with us like they had like 300,000 people in the world or something like that, and no one was teaching AI. Like there was like no one that was like, hey, this is super cool. Let's start teaching our people how to use it. It was like some random guy like me that used to be a CrossFit coach started teaching people how to use AI like through videos like this and like randomness. And then now, especially with like EverWorker, it's like relegating now, okay, instead of you having to go to the engineering team to then bring it in, it's like I can start making my own AI workers, which I have, that help me make these videos and stuff like that. So it's like, it is a kind of a progression now where actually you and I kind of fit into that, especially me with like, I didn't know how to do Bootstrap JS or any of that, where it's like now people that are super untechnical like me and then more technical like you, but not at the point of AI engineer. Now we can be a part of this as well. And it's been super exciting. Like, I feel like, I mean, I have people, I'm sure you do too, like every day, hey, how do I get a job in AI? Like, how do I even break into this space in the first place? And I feel like that's a lot of people are in probably similar boats to thinking that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think the people are asking how do I break into AI, they're asking how do they break into AI engineering. It's become very, very technical and more the ins and outs of that and play with that, right? But I think pretty much every single person is going to be an AI worker creator in the future, like in the next to 12 months, honestly. But I think going back, I realized I've never actually answered your question about how I ended up here. I also want to change it about a story about the early days. But um, from that, I had a lot of different jobs. And so I was always doing 3 or 4 things at the same time because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted. There was something in me that just got me really excited about creating and building businesses from scratch. It's just something really exciting that there always has been. So from there, I went and I was working for a company called Startup Grind, which is a global network of entrepreneurs. I think they've got 400 different chapters all over the world, and they do events and just connect people that are innovative with the people that are innovative and connect them to VCs and help them figure out how to grow and scale their businesses. So I remember even then meeting a company that was trying to use machine learning way back then. This is like 8 or 10 years ago or even longer, to predict stock patterns. And I don't remember what became of them or what happened, but I remember if you're into trading at all, there was this surge of algorithmic trading companies that you could go and play with. And ultimately, a lot of them ended up being scams where they'd actually let the people make money at first, and then eventually they would just algorithmically trade everyone that signed up for it on some sort of penny stock that then the owner would dump, and then everyone would lose their money. So it turned out to be a huge scam. But it has kind of just slowly been developing over the years, right? And I think the first time where I actually saw it applied in a commercial setting was at Text Recruit, which that company was a very, very simple idea. It was, hey, everyone communicates via text messages. When you email a candidate about their job application and try to schedule them, especially for something like an Amazon warehouse worker or, a position where someone's not in front of the computer all day, responding to their email and just not in the habit of that, it becomes hard to fill roles quickly and you just lose candidates across the pipeline. So that's all that company was at first, is just send text recruiting messages like you would send emails to candidates through a platform. That natural language processing technology started to come out, NLP, and that turned into ARI, which I thought was a great name, Automated Recruiting Interface. The founder there at Text Recruit was a huge, with that show about all those people in Hollywood, Entourage. He's a big Entourage fan, and I think the agent in that show, Entourage, his name's Ari Stern, so he named our first AI recruiter Ari Automated Recruiting Interface, which is just hilarious. But that thing was really simple. It was a chatbot with a decision tree and some basic NLP, right? And we sold a lot of that. I think we sold that to UPS. I think one of my buddies, we sold something to that to UPS. The AE on that account was able to buy a huge house downtown San Jose, and we started calling her slumlord as a joke. I remember when she showed us the place because she bought this property and it had about 5 or 6 additional rental units directly underneath it, but they were like almost in the basement. So they had like a window that was about 2 seats off the ground level, and the rest of it is like zero, which is a whole another kid of words trying to buy property in the Bay Area right there. Right?
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, we sold a lot of ARI, and then from there I went to Maya Systems, which was trying to create the first conversational AI. So their idea was, why have a basic decision tree chatbot? It's not really, a proper AI recruiter, because those things get confused and you can really only have prepackaged question and answer. It was like a free form interface to talk to it, and it can handle recruiting tasks and like candidate engagement, scheduling, database connections, ATF connections. So it was kind of a step above what we did with ARI. That was an interesting company as well. I think the issue that we ran into there was you have to create like these customized versions of this recruiting AI for every single one of our customers, and then for every single one of the roles. And that very quickly turned into a constant internal engineering test for our biggest customers, where we need just, it's not working as expected with this particular role for this particular client. We need to consider a custom build for them. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges with AI, is that it's so workflow specific and so use case specific that you need something that's tailored to like each different permutation of what you could do with it. And historically it's not been possible to actually give something to your customers that they can just play with and customize and modify and continuously iterate on. So anytime our customers had an idea like, hey, I wish it could do that, that had to come back to us, get prioritized on roadmap and turned into like a 3-month engineering sprint to deliver to market. And that's too slow, right? And you can't do that for every customer. So that's another thing that gets me excited about EverWorker is, you get the platform, you have as many people as you want using it, playing around, creating AI workers. You don't actually pay until you employ them at scale, right? And as you're creating the worker, maybe you're creating a AI sales worker or something like that to help your sales team research and prospect. Well, as you're shipping that and building that with them, they're going to have ideas and feedback. And what better way to create an awesome product or awesome AI worker than just be able to incorporate that feedback yourself into it right then and there, and then test it, because it's always going to be iterative. And that's super exciting that power is right in the hands of the person that knows. I know why this isn't performing the way I want it to. It needs to consider this other thing. And I needed to do this instead of that. Now that person can just tell it and it'll start doing that. And they don't have to wait for anyone. They don't have to get lost in translation. And that's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, dude, I feel like that's like I mean, it kind of sticks along with this story that we're more or less talking about, is the general idea of like each individual person. So like, let's just use you and me as examples, like throughout our time at different roles. And I mean, I'm sure everyone else that's listening feels the same way. You have ideas that you think would be, a great way, especially as you start learning more about automation. Then obviously it's like, wow, I can I automate this? Can I make it kind of just goes crazy. Like I was teaching people at my last job how to use Power Automate. And once they learn how to use Power Automate, then they're like, oh my gosh, you can do so much stuff. But yet you still have to learn, and it's still kind of complex in the first place. And so like it just leads to that idea of like, if giving the power of complex, sophisticated AI systems down to like the minute person that's doing the literal job, have it rather than playing like telephone back and forth with the engineering team, like that kind of thing excites me a ton myself, even of like, I can do this without having to worry about, going back and forth over and over and over again. And like 3 months later, will this work? Probably not like how I wanted it to. I feel like that speaks to a lot of what people are looking for. And especially with like the idea of like, when like going back to the idea of, hey, how do I get into AI? That's what like I tell people all the time, like as a quick learning piece too, is like, hey, if you want to get into AI, especially nowadays, like the market nowadays, this is probably just good like, information for anybody. Start literally doing something. Like if you want to be an AI evangelist or you want to be in marketing, start making videos, start marketing something, and like get the experience with that. And now also with the people that we're talking about of like, hey, if you want to get into AI, Agentic AI is here, and it's like everyone's now really starting to get it, like we are too. Like you can start building AI agents, and you can start, in our case, like we're building AI workers and actually like getting your hands dirty and seeing what that's like. Like that's huge. That's almost like, hey, I want to apply for this job. Guess what? I've also already built things like this before, and I understand these concepts. It's like, of course they're going to choose you over someone else that has been in college for 4 years and has done nothing.
Yeah, I think there's that element of like getting a job in AI, and I think there's an element of using AI yourself at work to make your work better and deliver outcomes. I think you're totally spot on with the job, the journey to getting a job in AI. But funny enough, the journey to using AI at work is exactly the same. Right? You start doing it. And the last company I was at was called Unconventional, and that was the first ever AI code assistant. So they built the first ever AI that writes software and code back in 2018. But I joined them, of course, many years ago. And really, that company, one of the coolest things about them was the context awareness. So they arguably have one of the most sophisticated context engines on the market in AI for software development. So the way that they structured the retrieval augmented generation there is really remarkable. because some of our customers had, I think our biggest count of repositories for a customer was like 10,000. They had 10,000 different repositories. And if you're not familiar with software engineering, think of a repo as like a Google Drive folder with all the files that you use for work that are relevant to you in there. So think about like 10,000 different Google Drives with a bunch of different files in them. And a software engineering team with an AI that's connected to all of those. And that engineering team going, yeah, I need to write this type of component in my application. And as they're talking to the AI, it's going, okay, that type of component, this application, I see what you're working on locally. I see what we've been talking about. I think that it's probably one of these 10 things, and I'm going to use a sophisticated method of figuring out what this is related to and what that's related to and what that's related to make a prediction about which one of these things to pull as reference material to create you the thing in the particular way that your organization does it. And that was a really cool journey to go on, because for a long time, there was this question where you have the base LLM, which is just a prediction engine, and it knows a lot about everything, but it doesn't know anything about you. And it can't, because it's stateless, right? And even if you have that context window, think of that as like a sliding scale, right? Is the context window by itself. It's like talking to someone with short-term memory loss, because you'll talk to them for 5 minutes, and now the window's full, and they've forgotten the first 3 minutes of what you talked to them later. You need them to remember that. So, and when you don't have the context in the LLM, it hallucinates. And when we say hallucinate, it's not for hallucinating. It's just trying to guess at what you're asking for. And when it's guessing, if it doesn't have information on the specifics of what you're asking for, it'll try to predict a string of text or words that fit that. So that's when it quote unquote hallucinates, which all computer LLMs will do by themselves. I mean, on an infinite number of questions. Use super cool study from University of Singapore came out in 2023 on that. You can find it on my LinkedIn profile. But the way that the study found, there's only a couple of ways to mitigate that. And that is context enhancement with external data sources and guardrail defenses. So system prompts, user prompts, and then specific. The third way was, of course, make sure that expert architectures, multiple LLMs, each one specialized, connected together. So then you don't ever ask any one of them individually to do too much more than it can handle. And when you do those three things, you get actual deterministic performance out of the LLM, which makes it useful for business applications and business uses. But without that, you get, in code, software engineering, for example, you get hallucinated boilerplate code that doesn't actually fit your application's approach. And in any sort of business context, you get just generic, it's best guess of what you want, but not for what you want your particular way. So those are three important components of actually good LLM or AI system design.
Yeah, and I feel like that even like with all that, like for everyone that's seen. So I just posted an interview I did with Peter Guigenti. So it's our CEO, who Ameya and I get to talk to all the time, which is always fascinating. That he was talking about when we were at AI Summit London, which also, Ameya and I were both there with Peter last month, or I guess it was this month, still, but that there was someone there, like in a panel that Peter was a part of, that said that he has not seen any actual tangible improvements in, and like a blanket statement, tangible improvements because of the use of AI. And of course, Peter then, goes off on a whole tangent about that I feel like even just the context of us talking about using AI at work, like just start there, just start using AI, like go to ChatGPT, go to Google Gemini, go to Claude right now. Like you'll see tangible results, like you'll see tangible improvements in almost every aspect that you have with it. What do you think about the concept that there's no real tangible results because of AI?
Do you know who said that?
I don't know his name. I could, he's on the website.
God, I would love to just have him on here to debate that with him. I think the first thing that came to my mind was, wow, he must not know how to use it. all. Maybe he's one
Real.
of those people that uses ChatGPT to ask it questions about the weather and recipes and things like that. Maybe you do it or a Google search. But never did results. I think you're right to look at personal productivity, which is what excited me initially about, LLMs. Even 2 years ago, I signed up for GPT subscription as soon as it came out. And when their deep research agent came out, I was, this is really remarkable because I could never, like, the amount of research and content I could consume that was super high quality and targeted to what I want, that it was able to find for me in 15 minutes. It would have taken me like weeks of Google searching and digging around and following influencers and thought leaders in the space to stumble upon these things. And now I can just get it, read it, understand it. They're just, or seeking knowledge as a curious individual. It's super powerful there as a personal productivity element. But when you get into agentic AI, that's when it really, really gets to be remarkable. And we saw that at Technique even with, we built our unit testing agent. And the thing would just, you'd give it an application and it would go, okay, great. I'm going to read the entire thing. I'm going to read your existing tests and I'm going to generate an entire testing plan for it. And it caught edge cases that our customers told us that their engineers hadn't even thought of. And it just got people full test coverage for their applications in like minutes, which was impossible before. And that's just the software engineering use case. The first application of AI really that had a big business impact. But moving on into through like agentic, complex agentic AI at EverWorker, I mean, go read any of my articles that I put out recently. We built this is another technical example, but we built AI workers for a cybersecurity team that helped them reduce mean time to detect and response by like 42%. We built AI workers for a complex document ingestion process that saved $960K annually in overhead costs for a company and improved throughput and accuracy of that ingestion process. We've, there's so many good examples. I can't think of them all right now, but
yeah, of course. It's like, I mean, like at the same time, like, well, you and I are in marketing, like, there is especially when you're on a panel and you're speaking, like, that there has to be an element of like, let me get some people's attention and like be provocative. So like, maybe there's an aspect of that, but like, even just stupid things down to like, one thing that I always like to talk to my friends about, because like they have kids, is like, hey, rather than you having to buy a new book or read a new book or come up with your own thing like every single day, multiple times a day, just to tell them a bedtime story, like, you can use ChatGPT, you can use Google Gemini, you can use one of our AI workers if you wanted to do it with that. Like, there are things that are like, even just quick, let me save you 5 minutes, but guess what? 5 minutes every single day for the rest of your, like, for 18 years until they don't want you talking to them anymore. Like, that in and of itself, just conceptually, is like, you're going to see there's tangible results. There's tangible results absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, so there's that idea of like, okay, there's multiple things you can do with AI, but I think 3 broad categories. One is just personal enhancement and productivity enhancement. And I think in the business context, a lot of that is just connecting it to all the relevant sources of information that matter for you and your work and your team's work, and having this thing that knows everything, how it's connected, and that you can queries for information about for you to think about, like, how do I approach a problem when there is uncertainty or ambiguity and navigate that. Then there's AI that you can just hand things off to. For example, I think Jeff Storer, director of growth marketing, he built something really dang cool. He built this basically integrated campaign AI worker, which is, I don't even know how many agents and nodes strung together. It must have been like 30 or 40 of them. He built it in a couple of hours. If not more, yeah, over the weekend by himself. With a completely brand new product UI that he'd only known for like 2 weeks. And he's not an AI engineer. He's not technical in his background at all. So anyways, this thing, you'd give it, documents like you'd produce with a marketer, your messaging doc, your your persona as you were trying to go after information for your product and company, maybe a list of SEO keywords. And the thing would just go off and create content and SEO optimize it and do research on it and add sources and citation and do copy editing. So put in your brand voice and tone. So we're doing the telltale side of GPT dribble. Like, it isn't just that, it's this, or, throwing emojis everywhere into a post, which I can always tell, by the way, to the marketers watching, when most of you are using GPT. And I think it's okay. I don't mind. It's compelling content still, but try to be a little more sophisticated with your editing steps, because if everyone sounds the same, it's compelling to a banner blindness. But that's a different rant to go down on. Essentially, we created an AI worker that we would have had to pay an SEO agency like 10 or 15 grand a month to put into action, and they would have done the work, and they would have produced less, and there would have been a lot of overhead and insights for me and Joshua and you reviewing their work, and they would have argued with us and we given them feedback. And they would have never really remembered the information that we wanted to about the product. So I think the first really good benefit to teams is handing off work to AI workers that get it done right, that don't argue with you, and that can get it done at any scale or volume you want, and that don't cost 10 grand a month like an SEO agency might, and that don't cost you continuous overhead, and that continuously just get better and better and more specific and personalized to you over time. So I think the first thing that's going to happen is a lot of contracting companies are going to get put out of business by agentic AI. So if you're an SEO company, good luck to you. But I don't imagine there's going to be much of a market out there for your services anymore, unless you're, of course, building agentic AI workers and helping people think through that process. And if you're trying to do that, why don't you reach out to me on LinkedIn? Because I'm always open to bringing on partners for that sort of thing. And we have a large services component for our business, because there's two things people don't know right now is, how do I actually do the work that I do? So that's kind of a whole journey down that, right? Like, think about how you'd come up with a webinar idea. Like, how would you even begin to unpick that process? And then there's, how do I connect these elements of AI together, even in the absence of having to code them myself in a particular way to do that same type of thinking and process and make it deterministic in its output, but also the right amount of creative to move on marketing work here. And that's kind of a complex challenge to solve. And really what we're trying to do is make the second half of that really easy. So you just talk to something and it creates it for you. But the first half of that, you still have to think through on your own. And that's, to be honest with you, that's the majority of what we do with our services is to help people talk through and think about how they actually get the work done and how they want the work done. Because that's what typically business analysts would do, right? And that's what you were doing at your previous role before EverWorker, is that you were a business analyst.
Well, I was in learning and development, but part of that was analyzing what the future was holding for AI and all that stuff.
Yeah. So that's the second use case, which is eliminating contractors. And the third use case is kind of tangential to contractors as well. So I'd say this actually probably falls into the second use case, but think about offshore teams that are doing some sort of repeatable process that take way too long when you have to quality control. You should replace those with AI workers very, very quickly. And some of our customers have already done that, and we can help you do that. But all that stuff is fun and all, but what really gets me excited as well is the third use case, which is customers creating AI workers and then embedding them themselves into their own customer experience and products to build a fundamentally better business overall. So like, think about, for example, bank, right? So imagine logging into your banking system and there being a actual AI that you can talk to that's like your personal financial assistant. And you go, hey, help me map out how I'm doing on tracking towards my retirement, or I'm trying to buy a house in the next 5 years. Why don't you analyze my purchases over the last 12 months and create a budget plan for me that's personalized and kind of guide me towards securing a better financial future. And that sort of thing is now possible with our classroom. You can create something like that and you can deploy it, employ it rather, as we like to say. and put it right in your product and put it in front of your customers, and it can access their sensitive data, but it stays completely private. So you deploy the whole thing on-prem or in your own cloud or public cloud, if that's okay with you. And you're using your own model endpoints. So nothing's ever getting exposed. So I think that's what really gets me excited is cases like that where, because every single new technology innovation that's come out has democratized that access to something that was out of reach to large swaths of people. So for like that tough consumer use case, like that type of financial advice planning usually wasn't in reach to most people, right? Like it's hard to get to pay a lot for it, but now that could be there for literally every single banking customer anywhere. That's an awesome impact. And I think as we're talking about marketing teams, there was that betting app, although I technically suppose it's not betting, Colby or Colgy. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I've heard of it at least.
Yeah, they made a advertisement that played, I think, during the NBA finals or something like that. Were those recent? Not a sports guy, so something recent there with some big sporting event. So yeah, anyone that's a sports guy watching this right now, I just lost incredible amounts of credibility with you. But hey, I will watch the UFC, and that's about it. But in any case, they've created this incredible advertising. It was all completely AI generated, and everyone was up in arms about it. People are like, "Oh, this is so unauthentic," and it's so clearly AI generated. But literally everyone I knew was talking about things, and
Exactly.
would never have afforded to shoot an ad like that and run it. And I saw that and I was like, wow, if we're maybe like a year out from, if no matter how big your marketing team is or how much you have, if you have the vision for something, you can make it happen.
Yep.
We might be seeing like a rebirth of awesome brand advertising. Like we might have B2B companies that never write an ebook again. Everyone's going to be doing ads like Capital One's "What's in Your Wallet" or then click out Caveman or what's that one with Mayhem? Is that Allstate? Be safe from Mayhem. Like
Allstate, yeah.
That's a great ad, man. It's like
Yes,
real great creative work, and that's what. So that's the other element of it is you're going to change the nature of work to make it more meaningful. Because imagine being a marketer and actually getting to do good advertising and like be creative, and more marketers getting the chance to do that. So think about that. But literally every single role is out there. Think about your own roles. You're listening to this. Like what do you know what good looks like in your role and what really drives impact? And you also know what you have to do to keep operations running day to day, but doesn't really move the needle as you'd like to. And think about handing off the stuff that just keeps the operations running day to day that you would hand off to a human team if you had the budget for it, to AI, so you can focus on the big picture items that move your business forward. And that's super exciting.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. Then that kind of brings up, I mean, even the shameless plug for all of us is, so you will be interviewing one of our AI engineers next week on a similar use case of what you just said, banking, invoice processing. So that's I would say to everyone, keep that in mind. Every Wednesday we're going to be having these pretty much interviews with these leaders at our business to show you what is possible on, like you and I heard this all the time in London of like, hey, can you show us a demo? Can you give us a use case? Because I just need to think about what is possible. And like, this is the perfect example. It's like Wednesdays were like meeting, like showing up live on LinkedIn and on a website and on YouTube as well, as like, if you want to learn more about seeing this actually been done, like things that are tangible, like Alexandru has literally built this already. It's here and it's already doing work. You can see it like every single Wednesday now. So I know I'm excited for that episode with you, but for everyone else that's watching as well. Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern. Be there.
They're all quick posted on our YouTube channel afterwards. But if you want to spit questions about it, or just ask if any questions at all about it, that's your chance to do it. Which is probably my favorite thing I'm doing lecturing, is just getting questions from our audience and helping them think about AI and think through AI better. There's nothing better than just talking to like customers as much as you can. But that invoice processing, the accounts payable worker, man, I've handled a fair amount of invoices running marketing teams, and it's always such a boring thing to be doing. And you have to do it though. Imagine doing that at any sort of scale. There's someone out there whose entire job is to do that at scale. And I guarantee you they'd rather be doing something else. There's probably something better that they can do. And then I don't want to give away the secret sauce about invoice processing worker, but I think I will anyways. It's really, really cool what Alexandria's built there. And that thing, we proved deterministic performance with it. We ran that thing 6,000 times. And it got it right before they got rolled out. And what's really cool about it is it's connected right into Outlook. So email comes in with an invoice. It recognizes the email with an invoice. It goes and downloads the PDF and reads it. Then it figures out who the vendor is. Then it hits a database full of contracts, finds the right contract, reads it, determines if the invoice is compliant with the contract or not. Then it hits another database. Does we already pay this thing? Determines if we paid it or not. And then it writes a structured report. And then it sends it via email to the CFO or the head of invoice processing, accounts payable, or the end customer that we built this for. But we also use the thing internally. And then he knows what to do from there. And that whole thing would have taken out a good 30 to 45 minutes of his time to do manually. And that's including, of course, the 15 minutes of time that you have to spend to get back into deep focus anytime you get interrupted by some sort of task like that. And that's not even that complicated. It's not even a complicated example of what you can do with that whole sort of like a simple use case.
Yep, absolutely. So for everyone, once again, if you're interested in watching that, LinkedIn, YouTube, it'll also be on our, we're actually embedding it also ourselves. So if you're, keep your eye out for that. Basically, if you see Ameya's face just popping up on LinkedIn or YouTube, click on in and watch it, or watch it after the fact too. But basically, Ameya, I appreciate, your time today and kind of going over this. And I think this is obviously going to be the first of many where we can just continuously talk about, what's going on in the market, what are some exciting things that we're seeing, and just kind of getting more interested in showing everyone out there what is possible with AI workers, basically, and encouraging people, because we see it all day, every day, and I'm sure we'll have another episode about this, of there's just a lot of doom and gloom. There's just a lot of doom and gloom with people when it comes to AI. And obviously, we are bullish on the idea of AI, and making a positive impact on the world. And it's going to take good people making a purposeful, good impact to help in the first place, rather than just be well, I give up, Terminators here. Let's just go do nothing now. It's that kind of thing that gets me really excited too. Is now we get to provide some hopium for people for the future, and to help people kind of at a time that seems scary to a lot of people. So I appreciate your time, man, and we'll definitely do this again.
Yeah, what are you talking? I haven't heard any doom and gloom from anyone, but literally everyone I'm following is head over heels excited about this thing.
Oh,
what have been saying things? What have people been saying?
It's probably more YouTube than no. I mean, I was even listening to a podcast last night where, that one of the hosts was just talking about AI is basically going to just ruin everyone's lives, and people are going to stop having human interactions altogether. And then the one that takes no thought at all, because there's a million movies on it, is oh, well, they're going to take over and enslave humanity and or kill us all. It's it's so easy to just find the doom and then the things that can go bad. That's so easy. You can read any book, you can watch any movie, and you'll be oh yeah. But it's so much more difficult to focus on the positives of things, because it just takes more brain power in the first place of how can I be good? How can I make this better? How can I make a positive impact? So that's one of the things that just kind of always gets to me. I'm if you think that it's all doom and gloom, you don't quite understand, or you don't want to use your brain power to actually think, how can I use this correctly and or use it right?
Yeah. It's I've been talking about AI for so many years now, but I forget sometimes that I'm a little bit in a bubble because it's not normal, or it wasn't
Yeah.
normal to like use it this much or no and much of that. I think if people were thinking about Terminator as a possibility, that is so completely ridiculous. But what I would love to have as fast as possible. So I don't know if Elon's working on this or not, but gosh, I wish there was a robot that can do my laundry and put my dishes away from me because I really don't like doing that. I'd rather be doing something else. So that's some doom and gloom that I'll sign up for. Never having to do laundry or dishes again or fold clothes or iron them. That'd be great. AI butler that just needs out of the house. I don't think we're too far away from that, but like the other element of doom and gloom, I think largely is around job replacement. But that's like any sort of technology disruption that happens, there's doom and gloom about that. And every company I've ever been at, the thing we've been coming out with has been disrupted in some way, and there's been doom and gloom about it. And I think I've written this stuff so many times. It's always the same story. Go look at the last 150 years or 100 years, or however long you want to go look at it, of every single technology disruption that ever happened and see what the net impact on society was, and it's always been good. There's always been more jobs created than lost, and there's always been a rise in the standard of living on average for everyone all over. So my advice to you, if you're worried about AI taking your job, lean into it. Go sign up for EverWorker Academy, learn how to create AI workers, and be the person bringing AI into your company. And that is going to be an invaluable skill in the next 8 months, in the next 5 years. And whoever jumps on that the fastest is going to have a fantastic career. So embrace it. Change is the only universal constant, right? So lean into it and don't worry, it'll work out. It's going to be a great way. Great time to be a business person. I'm telling you that. You don't have to wait on anyone else anymore. This time, the future of work is here. But what's unique is this time, we're the ones that get to create it. You get to create it. You get to create the future of work. And it's all up to you how you want to utilize it and how you want it to deliver value. That's fun. So that's where I'll close.
Beautiful. Well, we'll leave it on that because that was a great ending and a great answer for there. So, Ameya, next time we'll catch up again next week.
Oh, good. See you then.